As we move in our series from Genesis 1, 2, and 3, we come to Genesis 6 through 9, which focuses on Noah and his family. Now, God calls Noah at a relatively old age to build an ark, which is a large boat that is intended to house the animals of the earth and sustain a flood that will last for quite a while. Now, this is an interesting passage, and it's one that's received a lot of different treatments over the years of its interpretation. What I want us to consider is that with Moses as the author of the entire book of Genesis and the Exodus community in receiving it, I want to draw this line in the story that moves from Genesis 1, 2, and 3 up to this narrative. You see, because the Jews, as they're leaving Egypt, have a lot of questions about the God that they are following. Genesis 1 and 2 tells us that the personal God of the Jews, is the only God in the world that's active, that's living, that is true. His name is Yahweh. He is the personal God and he is the creator God. And all things that he created are good. And yet there's so much pain in this world, and that brings us to Genesis 3. Man has rebelled. Man has sinned against God. Well, that leads to the question, why then isn't everything evil? Why isn't man as evil as he could be? What is God doing in the world to make it good again? Remember, he gives us his promise in Genesis 3:15 that he will restore things, that there will be one of the woman who will crush the serpent's head as Adam was supposed to. And so what we see in this narrative is God creating a new Adam, and in essence, a new Eden. And there's so much focus on the land. If you look at the earth or the land, it's the same word as the created world, but also as the land that God created for Adam and Eve to dwell in, the Garden of Eden. It's the same word. And what we see in Genesis 8:21 through 9:1 is really the main point of this whole narrative. It says, "And when the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of man. For the intention of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I ever again strike down every living creature as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth." Now there's several things in here that are crucial. One is that God recommissions the same command that he gave to Adam and Eve in Genesis 1, 26 through 28. Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth. That is the exact same command, and that's echoed several times throughout this narrative, Genesis 6 through Genesis 9. That is crucial because God, like I said, is creating a new Adam and a new earth. That's his work here. But in addition, he goes above and beyond. Not only is man sinful from his youth, but what God is going to do is what is called in some circles as God's common grace. He extends his grace to everyone, regardless of whether or not they believe in him. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. It means that he continues to have the sun shine upon the wicked, those who deny his existence. He continues to have the rains fall on their crops as well as the chosen crops. Now this is important because a lot of Christians act like God has forsaken completely the rest of the world. And what they do is they tend to group together in these little communities, avoiding all contact with anyone who isn't Christian. And this is wrong in every sense of the word. To quote one of my professors, if you were shot and had a sucking chest wound, you would not stop on your way into the hospital and ask if the doctor who was about to operate on you was a Christian. There's no point to that. Because Christians and non-Christians alike, just as in this day, Jews and Gentiles were given gifts by God. They could do things well. There is beauty and truth in art done by those who believe in the living God as well as those who do not. And that is a crucial thing to see, that as the Jews were wandering through the plains of Moab, they could see these other nations that had government, that had kindness, that had all these different things. And that is because of God's common grace. And that is what he is doing here. He is not just eradicating the evil of the evil to the umpteenth degree. He's then restoring and recommissioning his promise to man. But then he's also saying, I'm going to go above and beyond that and say, I won't let you be as wicked as you could be. That is the main purpose of this passage. So I hope that helps clear up some issues, and stay tuned for next week as we dive into the Tower of Babel. So thanks again.